climate, there's no bigger gratification.
These weather anomalies are going to continue?
Not just continue, get worse. Widespread flooding has slowed transportation. I think we're on the verge of a major climate shift.
The time of man and brought upon this earth to the time that we stand right here at Church of Jesus Christ Christian.
Death is coming. Death is the result, it's the consequence. So I urge you one last time, for yourself, for your family, to climb that mountaintop. You know what I'm talking about.
I, within myself, my little tiny mind, I can foresee a time when everybody gets nervous when they hear the word thunderstorm. Imagine that. I can see a hypercane forming.
The book of Revelations of John the Divine describes the seals and the trumpets and the plagues to come upon mankind. And the final blow in this entire series of event is the great hail that Yahweh will pour down upon the people. Such as in Revelation 16:21, and a great hail from heaven fell upon men, every hailstone about the weight of a talent, 75 to 100 pounds. And men blasphemed Yahweh because of the plague of the hail, since that plague was exceedingly great. Oh God, how can you do this to us? What did we do wrong? I ate my bacon for breakfast. I was a good boy. I eat my crustaceans and my shrimp and lobster. I even voted, but not for you. I voted for a communist who's in the White House right now by the name of Obama. Why are you doing this to us? Well, the great hail could be called the straw that breaks the camel's back. For this final blow will cause Babylon the Great, or as Jeremiah the prophet foretold in the very end time, the daughter of Babylon, to be destroyed. That is this wicked political and religious system that has stolen and enslaved Yahweh's elect, the white Western European people and the nations thereof. It says in Revelations 18:2, and he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great has fallen, is fallen, and has become a habitation of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. Now, if you think about these parchments or scriptures quickly, without thought, one might not consider the implication of hail that weighs a talent. However, there is more to this hail than just great weight. I have commented and warned you long before that the great day of judgment of Yahweh was at hand. Yahweh will bring forth the winds to sustain large hailstones, and it will be incredible. The word incredible leaves a lot to your imagination.
Friends of Earth, brethren, how long it's been since my last video. Indeed, times have changed. The world grows more weary. The world to and fro suffers. We look about us, and each day we hear of news of death and destruction. We hear of hatred. We hear of our loved ones being destroyed. We hear of gross misjustices. We hear of great wrongs done to our fellow man. Are we truly to be just mere observers and watchers of the things that are, or do we want to be free people and choose our future? Is it enough to merely stay silent while people around the world suffer and our freedoms are taken away from us as each day passes? Our freedoms are something that is always at our doorstep, like a spirit. It can always be lost. This is not something which is handed down from generation to generation. It is something that we must all fight for with every breath, with every day that we have in this world, in our lives. While we all still have the opportunity, we must all stand up and fight for those freedoms. But those freedoms go hand in hand with being self-aware of the things that are happening around the world. For truth is freedom, and freedom goes hand in hand with knowledge. It is up to you to seek knowledge and seek truth, because seeking truth, we ultimately find that that knowledge which we have acquired leads us to a greater understanding of what's going on in this world, in this life. Truth is not found in one location or stored conveniently in a box. It is often, in this lifetime, hidden and has to be actively sought for. If we are to be truly awake, we must seek the truth. We must search in each nook and cranny. We must enlighten our self-awareness and how we seek the truth. I have seen many examples of people using their emotions and calling that truth. Truth is not found in your emotions. Truth is not found in your observations or by limited perceptions and limited opinions of what truth is. There are only truths and untruths. The truth is the truth and will always serve itself as truth. Untruths will always be exposed as untruths, lies. We must all be guarded on basing our opinions and our feelings on current events of what we feel or what we think we know. We must actively seek to search for truth, and with that truth we can then base an informed opinion of what is truly going on.
It is here that we begin our lecture and our sermon today. This was just the groundwork to go into it. And now that I have your attention, we will start. For the past 35 years, off and on, I have been gathering knowledge to understand the atmosphere and to put these hailstones in their proper place as to the parchments of the scriptures that Yahweh will use against the wicked in saving and redeeming his elect of Jacob Israel, the white Western European men, women, and children who call upon the name of Yahweh, turn from their wicked ways, and obey their Father. Needless to say, the results of my learning are fascinating and mind-blowing. It allowed me to understand quickly the intense magnitude and power that these hailstones will have, and what level of destruction it will bring upon mankind who do not want Yahweh to reign over them. For example, great hail is mentioned several times in the parchments, the scriptures. These occurrences are referenced by other scriptures, which include storms, flooding rains, fire, brimstone, and strong winds. For example, in the writings of Ezekiel the prophet, chapter 13, verses 11 and 13, say to those who plaster it with untempered mortar that it will fall. There will be flooding rain, and you, O great hailstones, shall fall, and a stormy wind shall tear it down. Therefore thus saith Yahweh God, I will cause a stormy wind to break forth in my fury, and And there shall be a flooding rain in my anger, and great hailstones in fury to consume it. And then in Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 22, and I will bring him to judgment with pestilence and bloodshed. I will rain down upon him and on his troops, and on the many people who are with him, flooding rain, great hailstone, fire and brimstone. And in the book of the writings of Isaiah the prophet, chapter 30, verse 30, Yahweh will cause his glorious voice to be heard, and show the descent of his arm, with the indignation of his anger and the flame of his devouring fire, with scattering tempest and what? Hailstones. And the book of Job tells you in chapter 38, verses 22 and 23, have you entered the treasury of snow? Or have you seen the treasury of hail, which I have reserved for the time of trouble and for the day of battle and war? And David, in his writings in the book of Psalms, Psalms 135, verse 7, he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He makes lightning for the rain, and he brings the wind out of his treasures. Do you know, it says that when it thunders outside, it is Yahweh speaking to his people to get their attention. As it is in the heavens, so shall it be on the earth. But the problem is, when it thunders, people don't want to really hear it. And they really don't want to hear about Yahweh. They still want to live their little life of stupidity. They want to be drunk all the time with either booze, propaganda, lies, drugs. They're drunk on everything except being drunk on the truth of Yahweh. And they're going to bring their own destruction. Because Yahweh said, I see all and I know all. I know each and every one of you, where you are. I know how tall you are. I know your foot size. I know how many hairs are upon your head. I know how big your hands are. For I formed you and knew you before you were in your mother's womb. Well, and look what he says in the prophet of Jeremiah, chapter 51:16. And when he utters his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens. He causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He makes lightnings for the rain. He brings the wind out of his treasures. In that you can also see Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 13. Why have I showed all these things up here? All these scriptures of the prophets? Because they were all talking about the very end time. The end time of trouble that these people are going to bring upon themselves. So you see, you're walking down a path and you're coming to a Y in the path. Just a minute, I'll have a little common sense here. I got to drink some common sense for the listening audience.
The freedoms that you enjoy currently were fought for from past generations and over hundreds of years. Human civilizations, as in the past, have grown and evolved. Learning has expanded. Knowledge is everywhere. The true skill you now have to acquire is deciphering what is truth from fiction, lies from truth. Our cultures and our civilizations are under attack currently. We're under attack from beliefs, from different sorts of propagandas, from different agendas. But now is the time when we must all rise. We must all stand up for what is truly right. Our civilizations have been systematically attacked from people who wish to degrade, to twist our perception of reality. One example is our perception of human rights and what you and I have the right to do, say, and have. And what we have as humans is being systematically attacked from within. Humanity has many enemies at this current time. There are a number of agendas being played out in the public systems. Around the world we see popes, climate change, terrorism, wars, rumors of wars. All these things are playing out in a real-life theatre, which we all are playing our part in this big theatre stage show. The choice is yours. Which side will you choose? How will you reply and respond to all these dangers, these threats to your freedoms, to your liberties, to your way of life? Will you be dictated to? Will you allow yourselves to be dictated to? Or will you stand up and rise and fight for what you know to be right? It is not wars that we should be making, it is peace. It is not terrorism that we have a place for in our lives. Our very cultures, our very fabric of the cultures are being flooded with an infection. I know it is time for compassion, but how far do we draw our compassions? Our understandings of this life we're leading and living in now. Yes, many may argue that our humanity, generous and open-handed and kind, but to what extent? I myself, I find I am not one of those who are anti-human. However, I know that a flood of different cultures is not beneficial to any culture or society, whether it be from north, east, to west, to south. We are one world, but we are many. We must embrace our differences. We must embrace our different cultures, our different civilizations, but at the same respect understanding that we are all different in our different cultures. It is indeed hard for me to not feel that our cultures are being manipulated. We are being manipulated to an end, to a goal, to a system. We must all be wary, be on guard. Time is short, our civilization's under attack. The question is, how will we respond to this attack on our way of life? I believe we must fight back in an intelligent manner, the way that our forebears have. We must fight for our rights. We must protest of this invasion of our cultures. Peaceful protest. I know that these many different cultures which wish to come to our lands. I see the images of Muslims throwing food away, perfectly good food. We cannot assimilate these people easily, but neither can our civilizations be destroyed. We must not allow this. Love your brother, love your sister, yes, but do not destroy the very fabric of our civilizations in the process. I leave you with this one thing. Search it up, search the meaning. Emperors of past have done this. A problem has been created. Then they wait for the reaction. Then they present the solution in their own making. They have sculpted it already. They have discussed it. Out from the ashes will rise a new world. Their new world, not yours. Are you prepared to lose everything? Are you prepared to be a pawn? Because you already are. You just haven't awoken to the fact.
Let me have another big one for them. They need it after this one. Now I want to remind you out there listening, 911 won't help you. Don't think you're going to call 911 when the hail comes down 75 to 100 pounds apiece. Putting your trust with man instead of your trust with Yahweh. FEMA won't help you. The communists in the White House won't help you. Now, all of these parchments or scriptures describe the same future event. Also noted that in addition to the hail, all of the above parchments also mention the great winds and the stormy conditions which will come along with it. And in order to have great hail, there must be a great storm. They go hand in hand. One doesn't come without the other. That's how Yahweh designed it. Picture in your mind very strong winds knocking over buildings and spawning tornadoes. You've heard this before. There's been big winds out on the plains and different places that knock 18-wheel semi-truck tractors right over on their side. There has been winds in storms so strong it took pieces of straw and drove it right into a tree. And that wasn't even close to the storm that Yahweh's going to bring. So imagine, picture these strong winds knocking over the buildings and spawning tornadoes. How many tornadoes is Yahweh going to turn loose on the land? As many as he wants. And no man is going to stop it. As many as it takes for the people to finally wake up and say, please, Yahweh, have mercy on us. I will turn from my wicked ways. Please don't drop that 100-pound piece of ice on me. Please don't destroy my wife and children. And then they're going to say, where's that minister and pastor who lied to me? Because it says in that day, even their own parents shall seek them out and destroy them for lying to them in the churches. It'll even get so bad their own parents will seek them out. Oh, I told you I was going to put your feet in the fire, didn't I? And I witnessed this in the name of Yahweh. Something you cannot remove. Your little Lord can't remove the power of Yahweh. So, can you imagine strong winds knocking the buildings over and spawning tornadoes and tents, driving rain amidst bright lightning flashes, illuminating flooding streets and fields? You've been out in storms. You've been out in terrible wind with storms and rain, how it hits your face and stings. It literally hurts where you have to pick your coat up just to protect your face from being damaged. Well, imagine a couple big pieces of hail stuck in the side of your head. Yahweh is going to do this to get your attention. That he reigns omnipotent. And all of your different attitudes, all of your different likes and dislikes, all of your cockiness and all these other things is going to go by the wayside. And you're going to say, Yahweh is omnipotent. Yahweh is God. Well, what else? The driving rain amidst the bright lightning flashes illuminated flooding streets and fields. And finally, great hail, the weight of a talent. What did you say the talent was? 75 to 100 pounds, it'll vary. Falling from the stormy skies, smashing everything in its path. This event has not yet occurred. And it is coming very soon. It's coming to a neighborhood soon. Your neighborhood. But remember, the world's greatest storm must follow the world's greatest earthquake. Didn't the Father say to get away from the seacoasts? Didn't he tell you to move away from the seacoasts? And what's going to happen with this tremendous earthquake? For the Father said, it will be so great and never ever be this great again. You're going to have tidal waves. How big? Well, you understand. Over by Somali, they had a tidal wave at the Somali Islands 46 feet high. And it went in, as it's recorded here, as they measured the water markings, a 46-foot-high tidal wave ran inland 765 yards, which is over 2,000 feet. A wall of water 46 feet high, just on this tidal wave that they had recently. And you see, a lot of people don't understand what a tidal wave does. It's not only a huge wave of water. It has in the water, it has bricks, logs, railroad tracks, people, debris, and then when it finally hits, It just is a big sucking sound. It goes, and it sucks everything back out in under the ocean. And everything in its path is obliterated. Well, this was a 46-footer here. The waves were up to 46 feet, 14 meters high. The scientists measured the watermarks on buildings and trees to help confirm the height of the waves. And in some areas, there was virtually nothing left after the waves reached 765 yards inland. Think about it. That was on September 29th. And if this is going to be the biggest earthquake ever recorded, I will tell you that there's going to be tidal waves bigger than has ever been recorded. That's going to hit the seashores of the entire world. How far inland do you think that a 100 or 150-foot tidal wave will go if it hits Florida? You know, Florida's, it's way above sea level. It has to be at least 20 feet at the highest. It's nothing but a sandbar. North and South Dakota, Alabama, Mississippi, and parts of Texas are swampland anyway. And those of you further up on the East Coast or wherever, you're not going to have much help either in a 100-foot tidal wave when it comes with its fury from Yahweh. That's right. Now I want you to consider these things, because the Father not only said it was going to happen, he said every island will disappear.
No, that's New York.
Well, what about Hawaii and my winter vacation?
Yeah.
All the islands will disappear, and 1/3 of all the ships in the world in the water will be destroyed. But now remember, the world's greatest storm comes after the world's greatest earthquake. It's like you're in the ring and they're fighting in the ring, okay? And they call it the old 1-2 punch. Punch, punch. Here's the earthquake, punch. And here comes the hail. Bang. And even the places that were hit with the tidal waves and the earthquakes, now they get a hail shower. You think Yahweh's going to even the odds up here in a heartbeat? You think Yahweh's going to protect his elect? Yes. Who are his elect? Those who call upon the name of Yahweh, those who turn from their wicked ways, those who give him all glory and honor and become new wine in a new bottle. Now, also know the word treasury and treasures mentioned in the above scriptures or parchments come from the same Hebrew word of 214 as noted in Strong's Concordance. Not only can the word mean a storehouse of treasure, but it can also mean an armory. The last definition comes into focus in the following paragraphs. As we said, the largest hailstone ever recorded in the United States fell on September 3, 1970 in Coffeyville, Kansas. It weighed 1.68 pounds and had a diameter of 5.5 inches, or slightly larger than the largest softball. And if we use the density of the Coffeyville, Kansas hailstone, and we assume a biblical talent to be 75 pounds, the biblical hailstone that will come will have a diameter of 19.8 inches. So you can you envision this in your mind? Well, let me help you. Please. A regulation basketball is 9 inches in diameter. 9 inches. Therefore, the hailstone that Yahweh is going to bring is going to be, therefore, 2 basketballs end to end. would have almost had the diameter of the hailstone in the parchments that'll be falling. Remember that quote, every hailstone about the weight of a talent. Remember, every hailstone about the weight of a talent was to fall. Some will be smaller and some will be larger. Now think for a moment at the size of this phenomena. Think of the death, the injury, and massive destruction that these 75-pound, 19.8-inch balls of ice will cause. Do you remember the last bad hailstorm you experienced? Do you remember when Isaiah the prophet wrote in the name of Yahweh that Yahweh shall destroy wonderfully from one end of the earth to the other? Wasn't the ground white from all the hail? Didn't it fall everywhere? Do you remember news reports of hail damage? How many crops and homes and cars, businesses were severely damaged or destroyed? Consider that the average size of hail in these storms is 0.4 inches. Now consider what 19 point inches of hail, a big piece of ice, is going to do. But let's not stop here because there's a lot more to this topic. Now let's talk about the speed of these hailstones from Yahweh that he's sending. And after putting together some scientific information, any free-falling object dropping through our atmosphere reaches a speed called thermal velocity. Terminal velocity. This speed is a function of altitude because the air is thicker near the ground than it is far above the surface. Enough said. Now near sea level, that's for example, Florida. A 75-pound, 19.8-inch ball of ice will have a terminal velocity or speed of 370 miles an hour coming down out of nowhere. Note, the greatest storm on earth, the hurricane, has on occasion reached only 185 miles an hour. Why am I bringing up this lecture? I'm bringing it up because the beginning of all wisdom is to fear Yahweh and what he can do. We live in a take-for-granted society. Not only will this kind of hail break the stalk and scatter the seed, but it will drive the planted crops several feet deep. Not only will this kind of hail crash through the roof of a house, but it will cause explosive shrapnel effects, decimating the contents with shreds and pellets of ice. The weight, the size, and the speed of this great hail will be unbelievable. One piece of hail is comparable to today's modern weaponry. Remember, the word treasury could also mean armory. However, it will not be a few pieces of hail here and there, but possibly hundreds of thousands or tens of millions of pieces of hail. Remember the white lawn after the normal hailstorm? Entire cities will be smashed between and beneath the persistent blows of these heavenly sent projectiles. Now, what weaponry, what arsenal that man currently has even comes close to these characteristics? None. This is the punishment from the hand of Yahweh Almighty God upon the wicked. And keep in mind, this hailstorm comes after the entire world has experienced the worst earthquake in man's history, as recorded in the book of Revelations, chapter 16, verse 18. Now, let me have a little more common sense for the people out there. For the ministers and the Catholic priest and of Judeo-Christianity, I'm going to drink this for you today. Now, this is your drink of common sense. There. See, as I hold out an olive branch to you today, to turn from your wicked ways, to inform your congregation to do the same, to make a stand with Yahweh. Now let's get into a little more detail regarding the speed of a hailstone as it's being created. Think about a massive storm cloud that is forming these unusually gigantic hailstorms. If these massive cloud tops reach 100,000 feet above the ground, and if the hailstones formed at this point, the winds to sustain and create the hailstone would be 3,171 miles an hour. That's at 100,000 feet. The winds to sustain such large hailstones would have to be incredible. As you can see, Yahweh has in store a horrible tribulation for an unrepentant of his Jacob, Israel people and nations, the white Western European peoples, and also the rest of mankind on his earth. And let me reiterate this. On Yahweh's earth. So many people continually break Yahweh's laws and sin, ignoring Yahweh for self-interest, taking Yahweh's name in vain, breaking the Sabbath, dishonoring their parents, murder, illegal undeclared war, abortions of adultery of the blood, fornication, stealing, lying, and desiring what is not theirs. So many people are blinded by Satan and his children that they will never, ever prepare for this time. In fact, people will not understand and will curse Yahweh for the devastation of this hail, just as is recorded in Revelation 16:21. But everyone has a chance yet before the door is closed to say, Yahweh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Everyone has a chance and an opportunity to shape themselves up and turn into a better person, asking forgiveness in the name of Yahweh. He will hear your prayers. For he said, those who call upon my name, what was that name? Yahweh. Yahweh. I will hear their prayers. If you think he's going to hear you when you say Lord, or Jesus, or Christ, or just Father, no. His name was Yahweh. His name is Yahweh. His name shall be forever Yahweh, for as it was, it is, and shall forever be. But you see, now here we come to that path and it's forked. We got a fork in the path. And you can't go back. And you can't go lay on the side of the path. You got to continue to walk. And if you go to the right, because the Father said he'd put his sheep on the right, and the goats would go to the left. You've got to take a choice of what path you're going to walk down. If you want you, your wife, your children, if you want to sustain yourself for what Yahweh has coming, I'll tell you right now, and I'm going to say something else to you. This is not going to be a storm that just gradually grows in 30 days. Yahweh said it's going to come just like that. Wait a minute, I'll do it again. Maybe I can do it faster. That fast upon you. In one day. So it's not going to be like you're going to go home and say, well, you know, I think I can play around yet for a little while longer, you know. And then when I see the clouds start to get dark, I'll tell them I'm sorry. It doesn't work like that with the Father. He's given you his warning now. And I am bringing that warning in the name of Yahweh to you. Now, so many people are blinded by Satan and his children of world Jewry that they will never ever prepare for this time. In fact, people will not understand and will curse Yahweh for the devastation of this hail, just as it's recorded in John the Divine in Revelations chapter 16, verse 21. And as we come to an end of this lecture sermon, I would greatly suggest that each and every one of us should start to prepare ourselves and pray for Yahweh's protection. And here's a surprise. Hailstones hit parts of China. Here's a Chinese man shows frozen hailstones in Chang'an town of Henan City, East China's Xinjiang province on April 8, 2008. Hailstone hit parts of Xinjiang and central Hunan and Hubei province on Tuesday, causing damages to houses and to cars. Here is the part of one of the hailstones that he picked up and the size of it that came down in communist China on April 8th, 2008. It's showing just a little smaller than what Yahweh is going to send by the millions. So you see, this isn't on your time. Yahweh said, as I have set this all in motion, no man can set it asunder. It cannot be altered. It will come. And after the battle, 70-some thousand years ago, the heavenly battle between Sataniel and Michael and Yahweh, when Sataniel and his warriors were defeated and cast into the earth, it was said, rejoice ye people of the heavens, all right, for Satan has been defeated, but woe unto the inhabitants of the earth, for it will be but a short time. There was a time. The sentencing took place. It is going to happen. And everything you look at and see, has it gotten any better since we've seen each other last? Has it gotten any better in our society than when we just saw each other 2 days ago? No! It can't get any better because it's a false religious and political system contrary to Yahweh, the Almighty Father, on how He wants you to live. That's right. So now, has there been any experiences or anything like this happened before? Has anything like this happened before? Well, let's see. In the book of Joshua, chapter 10, it says, and it came to pass, when Adonziah, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon and made peace with Jacob Israel and were among them. And that they feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all the men thereof were mighty warriors. Whereof Adonziah, king of Jerusalem, sent unto Hoham, king of Hebron, and unto Piron, king of Jarmuth, and unto Jephai, king of Lachish, and unto Debir, king of Eglon, saying, come up with me and help me, that we might smite Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and with the children of Jacob Israel. And therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, gathered themselves and their army together and went up. This is like they're going to come to America. Are you going to be following me? There's a sequence here. And they and all their host encamped before Gibeon and made war against it. Remember the valley of Hamagog, that Yahweh said He will bury them? And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp of Gilgal, saying, slack not your hand from your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites, of the Jews of the world, that dwell in the mountains, are gathered against us. And Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And Yahweh said to Joshua, fear them not, for I have delivered them into your hand, and there shall not a man of them stand before you. They will all be destroyed. So Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly, and went up from Gilgal all night. And Yahweh discomforted them before Jacob Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goes up to Bethron, and smote them in Ascah, and unto Macleod. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Jacob Israel, and were in the going down into Bethron, that Yahweh cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Ascah, and they died. They were more which died with the hailstones than they who the children of Jacob Israel slew with the sword. Now here is a picture of the enemy on their camels, and they're going to come and fight against God, Yahweh, God's people. And here come the hailstones down upon them. Here they come, raining down upon them. Then spoke Joshua to Yahweh in the day when Yahweh delivered up the Amorites before the children of Jacob Israel. And he said in the sight of Jacob Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And there it is, they're fighting this battle, see. Jacob Israel's killing Yahweh's enemies, anyone who despises him and hates him. And here the sun stopped. It stopped. Yahweh stopped the sun. Next. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemy. Is this not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of the heaven, and hasted not to go down for about a whole day. What took place on the earth for that to happen? And what created the hailstones that Yahweh used to bring down upon the enemy of our ancient ancestors? See? No. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that Yahweh hearkened unto the voice of a man. For Yahweh fought for Jacob Israel. And Joshua returned, and all the Jacob Israel people with him, unto the camp to Gilgal. But these 5 evil kings fled, and they hid themselves in a cave at Macleod. Maybe that's Iron Mountain in New York where they're going to go hide. Or they're going to hide under their little city out in Aspen, Colorado that they have. Or under the complex underneath the great new airport in Denver, Colorado. Or maybe Area 51 they're going to run and hide in their underground bunkers, aren't they? All of these evil rulers today.
Get them, Yahweh.
But these 5 kings fled and hid themselves in a cave at Macleod. And it was told to Joshua, saying, the 5 kings are found hid in the cave at Macleod. And Joshua said, roll great stones upon the mouth of the cave, and set some men there to keep them. And stay you not, but pursue after your enemy, and smite the hindermost of them, suffer them not to enter into their cities, for Yahweh your God has delivered them into your hand. And it came to pass, when Joshua and the children of Jacob Israel had made an end of slaying them with a very great slaughter, till they were consumed, that the rest which remained of them entered into fenced cities. And all the people returned to the camp to Joshua at Macleod in peace. None moved his tongue against any of the children of Jacob Israel. Then said Joshua, open the mouth of the cave, and bring out those 5 kings to me in the cave. Maybe this could have been what we're talking about now, is going to be all the evil political leaders who have done evil to America and performed treason against the people. And they did so, and they brought forth these 5 kings unto Joshua out of the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And there they are. They're dragging them out of that cave. Verse Verse 24, and it came to pass when they brought out these kings unto Joshua, that Joshua called for all the men of Jacob Israel, the warriors. And he said unto the captains of the men of war which went before him, Come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near and put their feet upon the necks of them. And Joshua said unto them, Fear not, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of good courage, for thus shall Yahweh do to all your enemies against whom you fight. And afterward Joshua smote them, and he slew them, and he hanged them on 5 trees. And they were hanging upon the trees until the evening. Isn't that the penalty for treason in the United States of America? And it came to pass at the time of the going down of the sun that Joshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees, cast them into the cave where they had been hid, and laid great stones in the cave's mouth, which remain unto this very day. And that day Joshua took Macleod, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof he utterly destroyed, them and all the souls that were therein. He let none remain. And he did to the king of Macleod as he did unto the king of Jericho. And then Joshua passed from Macleod, and all Jacob Israel with him, unto Libnah, and fought against Libnah. And Yahweh Almighty God delivered it also, and the king thereof, into the hand of Jacob Israel. And he smote it with the edge of the sword. And all the souls that were therein, he let none remain in it, but did unto the king thereof as he did unto the king of Jericho. So anyone who stood against Yahweh, Joshua consumed. Is it going to be any different this time? No. There's nothing new under the sun. And there was nothing new under the sun, and the sun wasn't even moving. Because Yahweh allowed it to stay daylight longer for the cleansing to take place. And Joshua passed from Libnah, and all of Jacob Israel with him unto Lachish, and encamped against it, and fought against it. And Yahweh delivered Lachish into the hand of Jacob Israel. You notice who's always delivering the enemy into the hands? Yahweh. Father Yahweh, which took it on the 2nd day, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein according to all that he had done to Libnah. And then Horam, king of Gezer, came up to help Lachish, and Joshua smote him and his people, until he had left him none remaining. And from Lachish Joshua passed unto Eglon, and all of Jacob Israel with him, and they encamped against it, and fought against it. And they took it on that day, and they smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein he utterly destroyed that day, according to all that he had done to Lachish. And Joshua went up from Eglon, and all of Jacob Israel with him unto Hebron, and they fought against it. And they took it, and they smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and all the souls that were therein, he left none remaining, according to all that he had done to Eglon, but destroyed it utterly, and all the souls that were therein. And Joshua returned, and all Jacob Israel with him, to Debir, and they fought against it. And he took it, and the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and they smote them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed all the souls that were therein. He left none remaining, as he had done to Hebron, as he had done to Debir, as he had done to the king thereof, as he had done to Libnah and to her king. So Joshua smote all the country of the hills, and of the south, and of the vale, and of the springs, and all her kings. He left none remaining, but utterly destroyed all they that breathed, as Yahweh God of Israel had commanded. And this will happen. And Joshua smote them from Kadesh-Barnea, even unto Gaza, and all the country of Goshen, even unto Gibeon. And all these kings in their land did Joshua take at one time. Because why? Yahweh, the God of true Jacob Israel, fought for Jacob Israel. And Joshua returned, and all of Jacob Israel with him, unto the camp of Gilgal. And hailstones came down to destroy the enemy. And it is recorded in the book of Enoch that in the very end time, listen carefully to me, angelic beings shall descend from the heavens and fight alongside the children of light, who are Yahweh's people, the white Western European people, and they shall consume the children of darkness totally. Angelic beings shall descend upon here. Enoch has never said anything about people flying away on flight 666 with a so-called rapture.
That's right.
Just the opposite. Just the opposite. Yahweh's hail. It is Saturday, December 5, 2009, and we are one more day closer to the great day of wrath of Yahweh upon the land.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Yahweh's blessings. You have been warned. In the name of Yahweh, I have witnessed these things to you. Have a nice day. Yahweh bless you and your family. And to call upon the name of Yahweh and to prepare yourself spiritually, mentally, psychologically, in all ways for the great day of wrath.